We see the patrol car parked at the intersection of Huntsville Road and Cox Creek Parkway, which is about 2 blocks from the location it was found. That video was time-stamped at 9:49 a.m. Director White and Casey White left the detention center at 9:41 a.m. So that's 8 minutes time span. What that tells us is that the patrol car left the detention center and went straight to the parking lot. There was not enough time for them to even attempt to try to come to the courthouse and then get out there and be at that red light 8 minutes later. So the direction of travel was from the courthouse, from the detention center directly out Huntsville Road to Cox Creek and then to the Florence Square shopping parking lot. The other thing that I want to make you aware of today is that we have had a warrant issued for Director Vicky White. The charges are permitting or facilitating an escape in the first degree. That's Alabama Code 13A 2034. So there is an active warrant out for Miss White, obviously for Casey White. So we're in hopes that we'll get some much needed breaks here in the next few hours, few days, that will help us locate them and get them back here to Lauderdale County and get Casey White, especially behind bars. Casey White, as you've heard me say over and over, is an extremely dangerous person, and we need to get him located and get him off the street. So again, thank you for all your help in that. At this time, I want to issue to the U.S. Marshal for the Northern District of Alabama, Marty Keeley. Marty's, as I said, his fugitive task force has been a tremendous asset to us, not only in this case, but in cases over the years, and we appreciate all of their assistance and help. So, Marty, Mr. Marshal.
Thank you, Sheriff. I just want to add that the Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force, U.S. Marshals Service Gulf Coast Task Force, is assisting the sheriff and his deputies in this investigation. They've been a partner of the Marshals Service for many years now. I would like to emphasize that this case is now a major case for the United States Marshals Service, which helped to facilitate the reward for information, up to $10,000 for information leading to the location of either one of these particular suspects or subjects. I would like to ask the public to keep in mind that Casey White is a large individual. He is 6 feet 9 inches tall. You know, there is the possibility that he's changed his identity as far as his looks, but he will stand out at 6 feet 9 inches. So I want to emphasize that to the public. Again, that information or any information about this case can be reported to 911, and that is the way you should report it. You shouldn't try to approach either one of these individuals. We consider both of them dangerous, and in all probability both individuals are armed. Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, at this time I'll be glad to take a few questions, and my media policy for the years that I was chief of police in Florence and as sheriff has been, it's on the table, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If there's an investigative or legal reason I can't answer your question, I'll let you know.
Sheriff Owen Lopez, ABC News.
Yes.
What was the interaction between the two in that surveillance video that you saw?
Actually, the surveillance video was not clear. It was from a distance and really couldn't make out any individuals per se, but we definitely know it was a patrol car.
Was he seated in the back of the patrol car or in the front?
From the video camera footage we have, we can't tell, but I'm sure he was probably in the back. He was in the back when he left the jail. You know, to stop on the side of the road, all those roads are heavily traveled. Someone would have seen something and suspected something, I think. So we're assuming he remained in the back seat until they arrived at the parking lot.
Was he handcuffed when he went into the patrol car?
He was handcuffed and shackled.
Sheriff, any tips from the public so far? Anything that's helped you in terms of this investigation?
We have gotten some tips, and of course we're following every lead we get. You know, we've had some tips. I think I've let y'all know we've gotten a couple of tips on a possible vehicle. We're still pursuing that, trying to get a positive confirmation on a possible vehicle they switched into. But yes, we've gotten some information that's been helpful.
Have you been able to get in contact with his family so far?
We have.
Sheriff,
Matt from Channel 31 here. You know, a lot of people here, of course, are following this, but there's folks across the country that are also following this. With the lead time that they had to get out ahead of this thing, those hours are important. What have you done to work with folks along the borders and airlines to make sure that maybe they didn't slip through those cracks?
Yeah. We have not, to my knowledge, unless the task force has, and I'm not aware, been in touch with the Canada or Mexican borders or their countries. He did not have any identification with him. That's not to say he couldn't obtain some kind of identification or false identification, but he would certainly need identification to cross those borders. You know, but to my knowledge, we have not contacted, reached out to those countries.
Sheriff, the surveillance video, new video at the intersection, will that be released?
Actually, we viewed it. We don't have a copy of it right now.
Any timetable for that?
Yeah, the company or the business that has the video, they have to bring their techs in to download it and all that, so we haven't had time to get a copy of it.
Sure.
But we have seen it.
Sorry. In light of this event, are you taking any evaluations of the protocol for escorting inmates?
Well, the protocols were in place. You know, we have a policy. It required two deputies transport. This was, you know, again, lends us to believe how it was orchestrated, because we had two vans of inmates leave just minutes before Director White had Casey White brought up front. Both those vans had two deputies on them. One had 5 inmates, the other had 7 inmates. Minutes after the second van left, Director White instructed another corrections deputy to bring Casey White up, prepare him for transport. That's when they put the handcuffs and the shackles on him, as is customary and protocol. She informed the booking officer that she was the only available person that was certified to carry arms to transport, so she was going to bring him to the courthouse, drop him off to the other deputies, and then go to a medical appointment. So, you know, that's why I'm sure that the booking officer didn't question it. She, after all, is her boss, and she coordinates all the transport. So, you know, that's sort of how that transpired. Yes, ma'am.
So is your investigation going with, now that there's a warrant, are you going with now more that she could possibly be involved, that he didn't coerce her, threaten her against her will? Is that still a possibility?
That he threatened her?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know she participated.
Right.
You know, now whether she did that willingly or if she was coerced, threatened somehow to participate in this escape,
Not ruled out.
not really sure, but we know for sure she did participate, and you know.
There's video stills released for his most recent appearance. Is that what we can expect him to look like now, with the crew cut, not the longer cut?
Yeah, that photo was taken in the halls of the detention center Tuesday before they left on Friday.
Are they related in any way?
They're not related.
Is there any evidence that they had spoken before Friday?
We're looking into that.
Any knowledge of
We're reviewing video footage, phone calls, every avenue we have to see if there was any kind of relationship prior to this.
Ms. White,
Let me get this gentleman.
obviously you guys, special deputies, work pretty closely with each other. To have this happen with one of your own, how upset are you? Do you feel betrayed at all with the way this has played out so far?
Well, absolutely. You know, if she did this willingly, you know, those of us who work with Vicky White and have worked with her for years, this is not the Vicky White we know by any stretch of the imagination. She has been an exemplary employee. I was told by the director of the jail that Friday night it was like you was at a funeral wake. The employees are just devastated that she was involved in this, and they're concerned for her, concerned for her safety, as are we. And, you know, we just hope that this has a good ending.
She just put in for her retirement of better than 16 years, right?
Yes. She'd been talking about retiring for 3 or 4 months, and, you know, and had done some things. You know, she did sell her home about a month ago and talked about going to the beach. So, you know, you know, that's just, you know, everybody thought she was going to retire.
Right.
You know, nobody saw this coming.
Did you have an effective date in place for her to retire yet?
I'm sorry?
Did you yet have an effective date of retirement?
She was to retire that day. That was to be her last day at work.
So that's questionable.
Yeah, now, over here.
So
Yes, ma'am.
we know that he tried to escape a few times. Why was he
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
We know he has a history of attempting to escape. Why was he moved to a state prison?
He was brought here from the Department of Corrections on February the 25th. He has pending charges here for capital murder. There were some court proceedings scheduled between February the 25th and the end of May. He was brought here for those court appearances. When those appearances were concluded, he was then returned to the Department of Corrections.
Talk about the retirement. I understand that money had not been released. The retirement hadn't been released, but there's reason to believe that there was a significant amount of cash on hand.
No.
Have you been able to figure that out?
I think from the sale of her house, she possibly had access to some cash. The retirement papers were never sent into the state retirement system. She had to have a conference with the personnel director before that could happen. She never came in. They were turned in Thursday. She never came in, of course, before Friday, so those papers were never forwarded to the retirement system.
As part of the investigation, are you looking into the fact that maybe they did have a romantic?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's always a possibility.
Marshal, can you say just how many people that you guys are bringing to bear also for this search and what you guys are doing right now as we speak?
Yeah, as I said, we've partnered with the Sheriff's Office for many years, and this is now a major case for the United States Marshals Service, which triggers additional resources. I won't go into the exact number that we have on site in other locations also. But as the Sheriff said, we are receiving tips. We're following up on each and every one of those tips. So we're fully committed to this investigation.
As a member of law enforcement, is it harder to maybe find them because she may know the tricks of the trade?
Well, obviously, she's been in corrections for 17 years, so she has knowledge that the general, general citizen would not have. I think that certainly played in her favor as far as getting him out of jail like she did. So, somebody.
Sheriff, was her medical condition a concern to you as she expressed that on Friday?
We don't think it was real. We think that was an excuse. It's not unusual if we have an inmate that's not feeling, our employee's not feeling well, take off or whatever. And she just reported that morning that she wasn't feeling well, so she's going to drop him off and go to one of the emergency care centers and get checked out.
Sheriff, maybe to the Marshals Service as well, can you quantify the number of tips you've received, whether any of those have been, substantiated, where they're coming from? Are these from across the country, various states?
I just know we've gotten several tips. I don't keep a tally on the numbers. The investigative crew, and we have several on-site investigators, federal, state, local, that are following up on those tips. But to tell you how many, I don't know.
Sheriff, talking to some of the employees, has anyone said that they had any belief that she had a relationship of any kind with Casey White?
No, not that we've been able to confirm at this point. We're still looking into that, reviewing phone calls, reviewing video from the jail to see if she spent any kind of extraordinary amount of time at his particular cell. She was in her job. She was throughout the detention center, on a regular basis, several times a day, walking the halls. So she had several opportunities each day to be in contact with any given inmate.
Given the lead time, do you have any sense where they are at this point?
We don't. If we knew where they were at, we would be there, not here. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean that sounded so short, I guess. But,
have you had the opportunity to talk to Connie Ridgway's family?
I have talked with her son and given them my phone number and told them any questions they had to not hesitate to reach out to me. We're committed to getting Casey White back in custody and back behind bars where he belongs. And her family, her two sons, have been through a lot of trauma the last 6-7 years. And we thought we had closure for them to a point, and now that's totally upside down. So I can't imagine what they're going through, knowing that the man that killed their mother is out loose on the streets again. A couple of more questions.
Can you speak to his past escape experience? What that entails?
He was in our facility in 2020, and we got information that he was plotting an escape at that time. We followed up on that information. We took him down, and we did find a shank in his position. The shank's a prison knife, and When we retrieved that, we immediately had him shipped back to the Department of Corrections. That was at the time, although we had a policy in place that 2 officers escort inmates at that time, we emphasized that policy with him. And Director White was aware of that, so she strictly violated.
And Sheriff, just to clarify, you said that it was February of this year that he had been brought
Yes.
back to the Lauderdale County Jail. correct?
February 25th. One more question.
Sheriff.
Yes.
Under Alabama law, an inmate facing a capital sentence, could he be facing the death penalty?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what the capital murder charge is a possibility of death. So he has nothing to lose with his violent past. He is extremely dangerous, and I want to emphasize as much as I can. And we're concerned about everybody, but there's going to be some law enforcement officers somewhere in this country or this state that's going to come across this guy. And I can't emphasize enough to our brothers and sisters in blue, don't take any chances with this guy. He's dangerous. And I can't emphasize that enough to our fellow law enforcement officers across the country. If you encounter this guy, you need to know he is dangerous. Don't take any chances with him. Thank y'all again for coming out and helping us get the word out. We will capture them. They will be brought back to justice, and your assistance in helping us achieve that is greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Sheriff.
An original documentary from CBS reports.
It's gonna be big!
The metaverse, the virtual world that's become a cryptocurrency casino.
It's like buying property on Mars.
Do they get an actual picture of this? No, it's a digital copy. Why would they pay for that?
Making millionaires almost overnight.